All right, we'll start with God is awesome. He is amazing. And what He's done in my life, many miracles. I'll give you a little bit of insight to my childhood first. From the age of when I can remember right up to 13, I was sexually abused by my stepfather and physically abused too. There was a lot of abuse in the house. They were very high society people, owned businesses and stuff like that. And when I was 13, because I didn't know, it was like riding a bike. It's from when I can remember it was wrong. One of my school friends, we were walking home and I said, I have to go and have sex with Ken, which was my dad. And she said, what? And I said, well, don't you, with your dad? And she said, no. And that's when I started questioning what was going on and got very angry and led me to drug addiction and all sorts of stuff, bad stuff, jail, heroin habit. But in the midst of all that, I had 4 beautiful children, and God was amazing. He gave me a mother-in-law that looked after my children and never really went to care, and kept them protected from everything. Many attempts of suicide. My youngest son, his dad died of a drug overdose. I met this guy, and he was a really nice guy. He was 60 and I was 30, and we married. He owned a pub, which suited me. I was an alcoholic at the time. And he got me to charge my stepfather and mother, because they were high society people in the town that I live in, everyone looked up to them. I gave it a go because I had no other answers after suicide. You know, I was losing the plot. Mentally, I'd been in mental institutions several times, and it was just a too hard basket for them. No one understood. And that when the CIB rang me that knew my mum and dad, they said, Sarah, look, there was a big investigation. They're saying, we're not saying it didn't happen, but with your record, your drugs and their money, they're going to pull you apart. It's not going to work. So then another suicide attempt, and I must have cried. I cried out to God several times and not believing and being very angry at God, because I didn't understand why this had happened to me, and it's not fair. But he got me into a Christian rehab, and I needed the rehab. I was going to lose my 2 sons otherwise, and they came with me, and it was Christian. And I still had a lot of anger to God. And then one day while I was there, people were preaching to me and saying, you know, it's the only way. And I put my hands in the air and I said, God, if you're real, you're going to have to show me. And slowly he did, and he did miracles in my life and my children's life. So I knew he was real. So when I got out of that rehab, I kept trying to go on. So in that rehab, when I was in there, God really touched me, put his arms around me, showed me about the justice and injustice of the world, and he was the God of justice. And I had major deliverance in there while I was in there, and got delivered from many evil stuff. And I felt like a brand new person when I got off the floor of the deliverance, and set out to try and walk with God. And it didn't take long. It took about probably the most 8 months, and I started slowly slipping back, and I had a drink and then drugs again and torment all over again. And in 2000, cut it sort of shorter, 2009, I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, and they gave me 10 months to live. My spleen was twice the size also. And I just said to my husband, well, I've tried all my life to give up drugs and alcohol. I've got 10 months to live. They can't guarantee me whether I'm going to live anyway, so I'm just going to drink it out. So I did for about 8 months, and I got chronically ill. Body was just shutting down, was in hospital, and it was painful, and I didn't want to go. Something inside me cried out to Jesus again and said, Lord, I don't want this. And I can just feel the Holy Spirit going through me now. But I slowly got better and went back. I went to Mount Gambier with some Christian friends. I had to get away from the area I was in, and went to a healing conference with Raf Shaw, and I went there and I had to forgive someone and ask for forgiveness, and God gave me a new liver, he said. Well, I went back to my specialist that I was seeing quite often because how sick I was, and he took my liver count, and when he read it, he said, I had to redo it, Sarah. He said, I couldn't believe that was your liver. And he said, whatever you're doing, I said, it was God. It was Jesus. He's healed me. And he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So that was a miracle in my life. And then another miracle was I had a bad marriage there. It was domestic violence and stuff. And I got away from him 1 year, and this is 3 years ago, just before I came to Tasmania. And I was up the cross on drugs. I was emotionally drained. I'd suicide again. Even though I knew Jesus, I just thought I was too far gone. And I lay in the King's Cross Hospital and I cried. I couldn't breathe. He was lying on the bed with me. Jesus gave me every breath. He said, here's another one. Take another one. And 5 days later I got out of that hospital and followed his leading and came to Tasmania in a domestic violence shelter here. And that's when I met some beautiful Christians, Deb's father and stepmother, and God just surrounded me with so many strong Christians. And I gave up the drink for about 4 months and thought I can do this, but I picked up a drink, went back to my husband, and he beat me up again. And I came back to Tasmania and went to rehab, decided I do need help and walking with Jesus all the way. In the 3 years I've done 16 months rehab, and life is great. My kids and my grandkids, I'm back in touch with them. He's a miracle worker, and it's only through the love of Jesus and forgiveness. The way he got me to forgive my stepfather, I couldn't do that on my own. There's no way any human could forgive something like that, and my mother. But he walked me through it, and he even showed me, reasons why my mother, she was in the bed at times too, and that was hard for me to understand, being a mother myself. But he showed me things that I never knew, like my mum lost my brother at the age of 4 through meningitis, and it may have happened to her. I never found out that with her dad. But I couldn't imagine losing a child at the age of 4, blaming herself. So, there was a lot of things that made my mother's pain, and she couldn't forgive herself, and the guilt. She died now, but gave me understanding of how things got out of control, and freedom of choice, and it wasn't of his choice. That he loved me, and I can honestly sit here in this room and thank God for all the abuse, even the sexual abuse that happened to me, because it shaped who I am through my life. And I tell you what, I believe, Jesus tells me I'm a beautiful person, a new creation, and all is forgiven. And I honestly like myself. I love myself today the way he loves me, and through Jesus Christ, There is power. He's amazing.